Okay. Welcome back to the Movie Well Marathon. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Mac.
Yeah. And we are
Woo!
starting a brand new marathon today. I'm very excited, slightly
Mm-hmm.
apprehensive, just the tiniest bit scared, but mostly excited. So, we
Why are we scared?
because I don't want to get canceled, Mac. I'm not a bigot, and I do
Okay.
believe a
That's
little
fair.
bit in separation of art from the artist, a tad, which I do include in my disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
We are starting the Harry Potter franchise. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna try to keep
We
it light,
are.
but we are I'd like to think good, healthy, woke individuals. I'll say it. I think it's true, and so I have included a quick little disclaimer.
Sure, sure.
You can also agree or disagree with this because
Mm-hmm.
I wrote it. So like at the end of this, if you want to say Mac stamp of approval or Mac denial, that's up to you. It's totally fine. So here we go. We here at Movie Will Marathon do not support the views of J.K. Rowling or others like her. We condemn her hateful comments and believe the Harry Potter fandom deserves better. At least one of us, Andrew, believes in a certain amount of separating the art from the artist, but also believes that in the case of the Harry Potter franchise, what made it special is not the work of one transphobic writer, but the creative work of hundreds, if not thousands, of artists working together. It is ironic that Rowling has spouted the vitriol she has in recent years when one of the messages in Harry Potter is to stand up against hateful bigots.
Yeah. I mean, that's generally how I feel about it as well. I think the thing about like separating art from the artist, that is art from the artist is something that I think is an important thing to have in the conversation because I
Mm,
think things tend to get black and white really fast. And like
yeah.
obviously the Harry Potter series, both the books and the movies, although the movies probably have a wider audience, were revolutionary for multiple generations of people. And it really kicked off like chapter books and authors who can write for kids now. So like there's no good way to just turn away from this series,
Mhm.
especially since it was so positively related to so many people's lives. So I don't know. That we definitely got to do at least a little bit of separation
Yeah, and
there.
a lot of people do bring up in that conversation, which we won't spend a whole lot of time on. It's just I'm aware that when people bring up separation of art and the artist, when it comes to like Rowling and like nowadays Neil Gaiman, sometimes John Lasseter, others like that,
Yeah.
there's a difference when the artist is alive and still benefiting from the financial gain of their
Mm-hmm.
product, which I do get. However, I also I
She's not
firmly
making any money off of this.
yeah, exactly. I do firmly believe though that the reason Harry Potter is the level of like culturally important. I botched that sentence. The reason it is as significant as it is, or as impactful as it is not because of Rowling, because I think that on paper, pun intended, kind of, the Percy Jackson books are better, and what that series could have been
Interesting.
would easily, I think, compete with Harry Potter. But Harry Potter, out of the gate, slight segue into the movie, got gifted with fantastic actors, amazing set
Mm-hmm.
designers, amazing costume
Mm-hmm.
designers, and I think probably 60%, if not more, of why it is what it is, John Williams. Because the music is one of the best things about the whole series, especially this first movie. And
John
without
Williams
that
is
tune,
just.
exactly. If you didn't
Mm-hmm.
have John Williams, I do not think it would be what it is today. Just while we're on that real quick, yes, Harry Potter, Sorcerer's Stone came out November 16th, 2001, directed by Chris Columbus, written by you know who. Cast, hold on for a second, this is going to be a long one. Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, Rupert Grint, Alan Rickman, Robbie Coltrane, Tom Felton, Richard Harris, Matthew Lewis, Harry Melling, that's Neville, Bonnie Wright for like a second, Fiona Shaw, John Cleese as Nearly Headless Nick, Julie Walters, Warwick Davis, Oliver Phelps. Where's the other one? There he is, James Phelps, David Bradley. We're kind of getting into the weeds here, but there's a lot of people, a lot of really big names. I feel like I covered. Did I say Maggie Smith? Maggie Smith, Richard Griffiths, And John Hurt, of course. I'm gonna cut it off there. Those are the big ones.
Lots of them.
Yes, indeed.
I think there was a joke about British actors and whether or not they'd either been in Doctor Who or Harry Potter.
That's fair. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so I think I'm a little more into this franchise as a whole. So how about we start with your thoughts on this movie? And also,
sure,
you can try to keep me honest, because I know there's going to be some things about this movie that are not great, because it's like, well, in the book, but like we can discuss whether or not that matters in this kind of marathon.
So crazy enough, it's been over 10 years since I read the books. So
well, for me too, yeah.
I mean, well, yeah, but just like I read them in high school, and that's kind of crazy. But anyway, so as I was watching this, I was trying to think back to like what the book said and what it might be different. And if I remember correctly, this is one of the movies that stays the closest to the original book, largely because so much of the story is just like, welcome to the wizarding world.
Yeah.
Like, this is Hogwarts. Here are some of the rules. Here's our bad guy that you're going to have to worry about. Here's your backstory, Harry, which you've never heard of before. Like, so much of the movie is just like getting our feet set. And like, as a reader or a moviegoer, I actually do not mind that kind of setup. I like it when we know where we're going and we take the time in the beginning to give ourselves some place to start. We really spend some time on that. But I will say, I feel like the actual story of this movie doesn't really feel like it kicks in until we're like an hour into it.
Yeah. I get that.
And I think they could have done a better job with that.
Sure.
Maybe that's a flaw in the inherent book as well, but I remember things being a little bit more connected in the book. Like, I'm pretty sure the first time Harry and Draco meet is on the train in the book. And
I honestly don't
it's
recall
all part of that whole
meet.
interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to me, it worked a little bit better because none of the expectations about how they were supposed to act as Hogwarts students had really been established yet. And so, like, there was this, you were meeting kind of a bunch of characters at once. There was Hermione, there was Ron, there was Draco, and you kind of got a good sense of like who the characters were and how they all interacted with each other before they even got to their destination, where the teachers would have like dominion over the behavior in the school. And I think that was a better setup. But what they did works okay, too. It gives Harry some time to really get to know Ron, whereas in the book, he just sort of, like, decides that he's going to stick up for Ron rather than knowing him and making a decision based off of that. So, I don't know. There are pros and cons, I guess. And that's kind of a good example of how I see most of the departures from the book in this movie. I feel like most of the choices they make in the movie, that, from what I can remember, that is different from the book, is understandable, if not always what I would have done.
Yeah, for sure. And like, it's something that we kind of will talk about as we go, because there is, and I hesitate to make this kind of point because I'm not trying to throw any support or positive comments towards the author. But the books do grow with the audience, and so this is definitely the simplest, the twinkliest, the sweetest of the movies. And when you compare, if you watch like Sorcerer's Stone and the Deathly Hallows, you get whiplash from how drastically different the world is. And it's like there is a little bit of the story that is, you're like a little 8, 9, 10-year-old kid, and it's like, how do you, what's a kid's dream? Well, they get a bunch of money, and then they get a bunch of candy, and then they find out they have superpowers, and then they find out they're like they're the most special in the whole world. Like there's a couple of those beats.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, this is the jumping off point. This is kind of like where we start, and I do enjoy it. I like getting sucked into the world, and I think it's built up fairly naturally. I like that we get to see aspects of the wizard world before we see Hogwarts, because it gives it more of a lived-in feeling, this world of this other group of people, this secret society almost, if you will.
They do a really good job establishing atmosphere in the film. Like, you feel the difference when you walk into the wizarding world. But I a personal critique is I feel like they went too hard on the historical angle for the Wizarding World. Sometimes it just looks like you walked into the past rather than you
Oh,
walked into a
I
magical like fantasy world that has been developing alongside
yes.
the Muggle world.
I do understand that. I kind of like that though because I feel like they reached a point where they no longer had to advance certain things. And I do think we see a little more of a development in the later films. Like we start to see more of a merging of what would a modern day wizard world look like. But with it looking older, like when they go to Diagon Alley or when they go to Hogwarts, I had never thought about this until watching it for this marathon. It helps it feel kind of timeless because it was made in what I almost consider the worst period of movies, the late 90s, early 2000s. Like, there's not some sort of weird, gross rock and roll music number in the middle of it. We don't have a bunch of weird, gross 90s jokes. You know, like, we spend all of, I mean, movie time probably half an hour, but it feels like maybe 10, 15 minutes in the Muggle world, and we only see it in one family's house and a train station. And train stations are train stations. So, like, I like that it feels... Well, yes, in the zoo. So I like how there's, like, a sense of timelessness about it because of how much time we spend at Hogwarts. So the old thing I kind of vibe with.
Yes and no. I think I wouldn't change. I think there are good in-world reasons as to why technology wouldn't have advanced in the Wizarding World per se. Not only would they not really need it, there's also the fact that when technology and magic interact, because no one really wants to be able to enchant a gun in this world, things go poorly. That's the main reason why the rule exists. It's not that you can't do magic and technology together. It's just that they did not want to bother with those sorts of questions in this world, and so they got rid of it. Right? That's a prerogative you can have. But I think the consequence is not that everyone would stay in those same like fashion would change.
Yeah.
I think I'm fine with the Hogwarts robes. To me, it makes sense that a school wouldn't change, particularly one that prides itself on like tradition and being like ancient and historical. I don't think that necessarily has to change. Plus, it has the fun effect of like wizards are always in robes, and in this version of the world, that's a school uniform. That's cute. I like it. But I feel like we should be going a little bit more modern with like the wizards' fashion.
Yeah.
Not necessarily like they just look like normal people. Just like what would it look like in a magical world for fashion to advance? I'm guessing it wouldn't be the exact same. It would have influences from the Muggle world because wizards can be in the Muggle world, but it wouldn't be just the same like petticoats, like button-down shirts sort of thing that we get in the movie.
The nice long pointy hats as well, or
So even having things like that, but incorporating more modern fashions with that sort of thing is kind of what I'm looking for. Most of the background characters are walking around like they walked out of like the Victorian era or something. I get that. It's a little rough.
And we will see again as this franchise continues, it gets better. I think it really starts to feel like what you're describing around 5, and from then on it's like, because like when we see it in the Ministry of Magic later, it's like business suits / robes, because we see members of the Ministry of Magic walking around in the Muggle world, and it's like if you looked at them twice, it'd be like, that's a really long coat. That's so many buttons. Why does he have that many collars? But it's like, it's whatever. But if anyone in Diagon Alley was walking down London, it'd be like, dude, what is going on? So I am torn for this one, just because of the effect you feel when you walk through the brick wall
into the alley,
into Diagon Alley. So I don't disagree necessarily. I see and I get your point, and I love how we watch this franchise develop that idea. And I think the school uniforms are the perfect example of like where to go, because it is different from the books. In the books, it's like robes, like robes, and so I'm glad they went with like these children are actually indeed wearing pants and shirts, and it's not just they're not just all running around in weird wizard robes, like the coat being the robe with the hood and a pointy hat. That is perfect. So yes, I love that, and I think a good balance in this movie, if you wanted to tweak something to make it feel more believable right off the bat, would be Diagon Alley has more of a gradient effect where you have a mixture of styles of like modern and like some of the older wizards are a little more traditional, but when you get to Hogwarts where wizards can just be wizards, it is full blown Dumbledore, McGonagall,
No, I agree.
Quirrell, like all that, like they can just look how they look.
I actually don't have any issue with any of the wardrobes of the professors. I feel like the professor wardrobes are well enshrined in like, this is Hogwarts, we do and wear what we want. Because, I mean, those teachers really just kind of do and wear whatever they want. The lessons they teach are so informal. I think maybe a part of what, okay, personal disclaimer.
Yes.
Harry Potter is a thing that I wrestle with a little bit.
Of course.
Because I just don't think it's like 10 stars great.
Yeah.
I think it's a solid 8 out of 10 stars. There's nothing inherently like bad about the story writing or the characters or anything. I don't know. It's possible that I just got to it too late to really appreciate it. But I'm trying to make sure that my bias doesn't interfere with sort of my opinions. But I think a part of the thing that irritates me with the series as a whole is it sold itself as like a school of magic. And I'm a nerd. And I'm like, teach me about magic.
Are you angry we don't get enough school? You are that's such a Hermione thing to say.
One of my first concerns when I read the book, and it was still a concern when I watched this movie, I want to know how they spelled the letters to do the thing that the letters did. Because originally it's just like the owls are just dropping it off. So you can kind of like assume that the owls are just like, you know, kind of pushing the letter in. It's slightly enchanted to get where it's supposed to go. Perfect. But then like, nobody hand wrote all those letters. Who made the duplication spell? How did we get it to come through the chimney? How do we get them in the eggs? And it wasn't like there was someone hiding, like putting all these separate spells around the house. So how did they do it? What was the spell? I can think of a bunch of times where like I don't know, repeat spawn an item in the space could have been useful. And we just never come back to it. And it drives me a little crazy. I know that's insane, but
okay. Which is fine. And you'll have to keep me honest too, because I am biased on the other side. I grew up with this franchise, and so I do enjoy it quite a bit. I like it. We're gonna have to talk about this movie specifically at some point, but I do like. It feels like a attempt at showing like a modern day, almost naturalistic version of magic, which I know some people, other people have critiqued the magic system in Harry Potter. Totally fair. It's not perfect by any means. As we continue the franchise, we get into some of the Fantastic Beasts movies. It's illustrated in a way where it's like almost like the X-Men mutants. It's like this otherness that is like there's almost like a biological effect to it. It's not just anyone can go learn it, which I find interesting. So in the case of the letters, because of all the owls, I assume it's each individual letter. It's not duplicated. And when you get further into the franchise, not in the movies, but in the books, I think it's easy to assume it's probably the house elves that wrote all the letters, since Hogwarts has a bunch of them. I don't love that. I really don't love how we decided to include that.
That part has always been weird to me.
It is weird.
Anyway, moving on.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that
soon.
when it becomes relevant later on. But yeah, so I am happy to discuss any issues you have with the magic. Will there be fixes or easy explanations for some of them? Maybe. Very unlikely, but I'm happy to help here and or there. But as far as this movie goes, one of my issues when you take away, you want to take a guess as to how many spells Harry Potter casts in this movie?
Is it like one?
I don't think he casts any.
He doesn't cast any.
I don't think he casts any. I don't think he
That's
casts.
crazy.
I don't think Harry Potter casts a single spell until halfway through Chamber of Secrets, which is a little ridiculous.
Okay, wait, no, isn't he practicing in class when they do the Wingardium Leviosa thing?
Yeah, but he doesn't achieve it. He doesn't, which is honestly, I understand that Harry is not the brightest, but he's supposed to be. The Sorting Hat says he has not a bad mind.
He's supposed to be powerful.
He's powerful. He's also supposed to not be an idiot. And in that sequence with when we're learning charms with Professor Flitwick, we just learned swish and flick. When it cuts to all the students saying the spell, Harry's one of the only ones not even doing swish and flick. It's like, motherfucker, where were you 2 seconds ago? You were sitting, there is no one in this classroom sitting closer to Professor Flitwick than you, good sir. You. And like, Ron, of course, is a fucking dumbass, and he's just flinging it around back and forth. But the fact that Harry just watched this professor with his eyeballs go swish and flick and say the words out loud, and then it's time for him to do the one spell in the whole movie, and he just points the wand. It says, Wingardium Leviosa, and nothing happens. Like, yeah, no fucking shit, dude. No fucking shit.
So real.
Yeah.
So real.
So Harry does not cast a single spell in this entire movie, which has always rubbed me the wrong way just a tad. Because yes, he's the hero and he does cool shit in the end, and it's all fun and triumphant in the end. But it's like, dude, did you learn anything this year? Mm-hmm. Anything at all?
Well, and I mean, not to harp on it, but I really don't feel like they do. We get like no time in the whole like learning magic phase of this world, and I'm like, you are a kid who just found out he is a wizard. Granted, you're not going to learn all the magic in 1 year. I don't expect you to. Hogwarts doesn't expect you to. You have multiple years to learn magic. But pick one spell and use it every time you have a problem, and I will feel like we are progressing. Yeah. And we don't even do that. We just kind of stand there and look shocked whenever we're in danger, even though we keep finding ourselves in danger, and we're aware of the fact that the big bad guy is out to get us, and we're like, that's a fine problem for another day, I guess. Yeah. I will not do anything about that. Dude, I don't know. I was learning self-defense at 12. He can learn a spell, all right? Like,
for sure. So I think as a kid, though, they do well enough distracting you with, well, now he's on a broom. Now he has an invisibility cloak. Right. Now there's a three-headed dog. Now there's like
some cool wizard things.
Yeah, he does cool wizard things, and he's experiencing cool wizard things. There's the Mirror of Erised, which is kind of dumb, kind of cool, kind of dumb, kind of cool. So like he is constantly in new situations, doing new things, but we do gloss over hard, like, ooh, got a wand. Great. Not going to do anything with it. Not a damn thing. I don't even know if he has it during the whole end of movie trials, because he doesn't, I don't recall.
It's not like it's in his pocket.
Yeah, it's like,
his hands don't have it.
Yeah, where's your wand, dude?
I wasn't going to mention this until we got closer to the end, but not only does he not have his wand, none of them brought an instrument.
Yeah, that is a little bit troublesome. I was assuming there'd be some sort of spell, but yeah.
We just confirmed the fact that these guys don't know their spells. The only one who does.
Well, Hermione.
Hermione seems to be already like improvising spells. Yeah. Like she is putting together Latin words that we don't see anyone else use and doing very specific things.
Well,
on the train.
Yes.
On the train.
My level of nerd, I do know that Oculus Reparo is a specific spell. I don't know why it is, because Reparo is its own spell by itself.
Yeah.
I don't know why we have to. That is just a weakness in writing that Rowling didn't want to keep up with. Yeah. Ronald Weasley does more spells in this movie than Harry Potter.
Ron comes from a wizarding family. I feel like that almost kind of makes sense.
Honestly, it makes less sense, I think, because like it's a bigger world thing. I don't think it makes any sense that Ron knows nothing about magic. It seems you'd think he absolutely would, just naturally.
His brothers would have taught him something.
Yeah.
Like
you think they're, as they say in this world, they are a pure blood family. They are in the wizarding world. Like 11 years, he would know some basic spells. For sure. Whether or not he was allowed to have a wand or not, that's different. But like the fact that he doesn't know anything, so it's even more disappointing that Ron only casts 2 spells. I think a spell and a half, if I recall correctly. But Harry being the protagonist, only casting 0 is disappointing. Do we make up for it in the franchise later on? Yeah. He's flinging around Expelliarmus to stupefy every 10 seconds in the later movies. So, like, we make up for it. But it's still silly. And poor Ron, though, if we want to talk about him for a second, the first spell he does is a fake joke spell. But it does make that box fall off the rat, so it counts. I'm counting that as half a spell. He does not Alohomora. He does Wingardium Leviosa to save Harry. Awesome. Full points, full points. And then he does do Alohomora, but the door is jinxed to not listen to it, so the poor boy can't even get that one. So, yeah. We're not getting a lot of magic out of our 11-year-olds, but we're harping on that a lot.
And he's so like abashed that it didn't work with the door too. He tries Alohomora and he's like, well, it was worth a try. And I was like, no, kid, that's the first thing you should have done.
Yeah.
You're right. Is the right move. Good job.
You're good. That's fine.
Anyway.
Yes. Let's see.
Should
we? What you got?
Yeah.
What you got?
I feel like we kind of skipped the beginning of the movie.
We did. The beginning. I think first of all, if you want to talk about the beginning, I think the very, very beginning. Awesome. I still remember the first time I saw it. I was sucked in immediately. I'm a big advocate of you should watch the movies before you read the books. So I went in knowing jack diddly. I was a child. I was completely mystified by that bearded dude with his weird reverse lighter. We find out later it's called the Deluminator, but I just called it the reverse lighter. And then
it's as good a name as any.
Exactly. Him talking to the cat, and then the cat turns into a lady, and it's like, what? And then this big dude comes out of the sky on a motorcycle. I'm fully invested in the opening of this movie. I dig it. You seem like you have thoughts.
It's a good opening. I noted that too when I was watching it. I was like, it's the atmosphere created by the way they introduce each of the characters, and the way they introduce each of the characters is also very emblematic of each of the characters' personalities and like what they are to the story. So that is good. I am irritated by a couple of things.
You go on.
The first one is the reverse lighter deluminator thing.
You don't like the deluminator?
Why on earth would I want a tool that slowly extinguishes one light at a time while I'm standing in the middle of the road with the light racing towards me? Like, there is no actual mystery in that. That's more likely to draw attention than just walking down the road. Moving on. Is there not like a spell? Hold on, I'm not moving on. Okay. Isn't there like a spell where you could just be like...
Yes.
No light, and then there's no light.
Yes. My little plot hole fanfic brain patch thing is that, for one, it's like a cool thing to maybe have if you don't have a wand. In Dumbledore's case, that's a little weird. Sure. My other idea is that it might be different with electrical lights. Is there a spell that could probably turn off electrical lights? Maybe. But the spell we see in the movies, it's Nox, which is to turn off Lumos. That's magical light. Maybe there's something different with the Muggle Maid lights. My only other...
I suppose.
Yeah, my only other thing...
Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
No, it's just later, we do see it can take out all the lights at the same time. So, I don't know. I'm torn on the Deluminator because everything you're saying is absolutely right. But I don't know if it has other functions because it keeps the light. It like stores light. I don't know if it does.
So assumedly you could like pull the light out again and use it later if you needed it, which is a cool thing. Like the tool itself, I guess I don't have a huge issue with. It's just the choice of the tool for the situation that we are in. Like there is no way that this method, this strategy draws less attention to you than just like, because like it's still pretty light out there once we're done collecting all the lights from this street. So it's not like it really hid anybody coming down on a motorcycle, you know, or a woman turning into a cat.
It is interesting because of how visible everything is that you don't really get that vibe from the opening of the movie. It's like, what is he doing? Because it's not you're having the light go towards you. Like we can see you. Yeah. So I do see what you mean. I can appreciate that. I can. My only
go.
Yeah,
that's supposed to be My reaction to it feels a little exaggerated, but I think what gets me is like the first time I see it, I'm like, oh, that's whimsical. And then he keeps doing it. And then he keeps doing it. And then I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I'm not sure what this is supposed to accomplish other than I'm supposed to feel wowed by it. And the fact that it's so impractical is bothering me. Like any amount of awe I'm supposed to be feeling at this moment is completely overshadowed by the fact that it is being used in a way that is affecting the opposite of what we desire. And I feel like that happens a lot in Harry Potter.
For sure. Yeah. My only other little patchwork is that it's definitely not this in the books, but it might be for Hagrid. Like to land at the only dark spot he sees amongst like this village.
But it's not that well. Okay.
Because he doesn't take out all the lights. He takes out a handful of them, and that's where he needs to land. Because Hagrid, that we'll learn later as well, he is not fully educated in magic. You can't he doesn't have like a detection spell or something like that. So
and it would draw more attention to put like a firework or something in the sky.
Yes.
So
yes, that's my headcanon.
I can follow that logic. Yeah. I can follow that logic.
That's my headcanon.
It just feels like a happy accident more than the intentionality of the scene.
Faux show.
Okay, moving on.
Yes.
We get the Dursleys, which they're awful
Suck
people.
shit.
I forgot how awful they are. They're genuinely terrible and abusive. It's always rough. That said, I do feel like Petunia's actor is really in her character. Like she knows, like she's delivering a great performance. I forgot how Cinderella the story of Harry Potter is.
Oh yeah.
Very Cinderella, fairy godmother and everything.
Yep. Oh yeah.
I feel like the snake scene is well placed and well used in the sense that it's it's early.
One of the few things I think Rowling does build off of very successfully. Because you do not think about that twice.
No, you don't. You're just like, to show us, like, functionally as a reader, you're like, the reason we're going to the zoo and having this experience with the snake is to show us that Harry is weird and has magic.
Yep.
That's all you think of it.
Yep.
And then later you find out that Parseltongue is like a specific thing, and you're like, oh, okay.
Shit.
And then you learn about why Harry has the specific thing, and you're like, oh, okay. So like it is well developed, and it's not overplayed, and it's not like it feels a little odd, maybe a little bit when you first read it, because you're like, this is a whole extra scene just to explain that Harry's done something weird, where I would have accepted as a reader that like there was that one time I did that one thing and that's all it was. Actually, it might be that way in the book. It might be a flashback in the book rather than
I think they go.
actively
they go to the zoo.
doing.
Yeah,
they do. Okay,
yeah.
I thought it was a flashback.
No, we
anyway,
go because we have a little conversation, a little mini one with the snake. Not so much that the snake talks back,
right?
But yeah.
But like in the book, it's like there was that one time we went to the zoo and I talked to a snake. Rather than in the movie, it's Harry wakes up and they go to the zoo.
No. In the first book, they go to the zoo and like we have it like it's written out scene for scene. But it's in the second book that he says, yeah, there's one time I went to the zoo and talked to a snake. Like we have that conversation as well.
I thought it was kind of fun that there were green-clad school children exiting the reptile house when we first met.
Cheeky.
What else? The precision of the letters addressed to the Harry Potter in the cupboard under the stairs. Very funny.
I like that.
Very amusing. And then I guess, like, I forgot how series of unfortunate events style the house they go to is.
That kicked in when I was probably 16 or 17, and because like at this point I had seen this movie easily 40 times because we would watch the ABC Family Harry Potter weekend things, so I had seen it a lot, and then it just kind of hit me. These British fuckers just found an island with a brick house on it, and they just moved out there because they got tired of mail. This is a story with three-headed dogs and goblins, and this thing doesn't make any sense at all. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it is wacky. 'Cause, like, how did they get there? You know, like, I think in the book they illustrate
there's no
more
boat.
that they take a boat or something, but like, yeah, we don't see it. We don't see it in the movie. Oh, but then we have Hagrid, and Hagrid's the best. I love Hagrid so much.
Hagrid's so good.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with the Hagrid character. He's a character with flaws for sure, but just the general character choices around Hagrid.
I have one issue with Hagrid in this movie. One genuine issue. It's not that he tells them about Fluffy. It's not that he tells them about putting the dog to sleep. It's not that he has a dragon. It's that he left this 11-year-old boy in the middle of a train station having no knowledge how to get to platform 9 3/4. And I understand he's strapped for time, but sir, you're on Dumbledore's time, and you are currently with Harry Potter. I think Dumbledore would understand if you took an extra 10 minutes to get him to that brick wall so that he could get on the train for his first year at Hogwarts. I don't think Albus, Percival, Wilfrid, Brian, Dumbledore would care about that for a single solitary second, because Hagrid isn't there to lead the 11-year-olds, the first years, through the boats on the lake. He's got shit to do later that day. He didn't have to leave right then, you know?
No, at the very least, you could have taken him to the wall and been like, here you go, run through the wall, and you'll be at the platform. But then we would miss out on our interaction with the Weasleys.
Yes, which is great, and it is very fun. So my little head, hey, fix this, because we don't really need him talking to the conductor guy to get the joke or whatever. It could just be like, Hagrid could clock them and be like, you see those right there? See the other kids with the owls? Follow them. I gotta go. You stay with them and you'll be fine. You know, just something like that. To give us the fear and the anxiety of being a kid and having what is right now first of all, our doorway into this world, and right now our guardian, leaving us, so we're scared. But we have the character choice from Hagrid doing a thing that he knows keeps this kid safe. Like, that would be nice.
And I feel like it still functionally serves the beat that Hagrid is maybe not the most careful of guardians. Like, Hagrid cares a lot for the kids, but he's really not.
He's not
like,
qualified.
You'd want him to babysit, but you wouldn't want him to stay for a week instead of you and your kids, right? So like,
yeah.
So
it's like, you know, I would trust Hagrid with my life, but maybe not with my house.
No, exactly, because he'd definitely try to keep a magical creature in my house, and I'd come back to my couch being absolutely wrecked. But I feel like we want to tell the audience, hey, Hagrid is like this. And so far he's done a pretty good job of like keeping everything moving. So the thought was, hey, he's pressed for time. He doesn't think too hard about it. He says Harry will know where to go, and he just leaves, right? Yeah. But I feel like it also still pretty much serves the purpose for him to be like standing on a bridge, seeing the owls and the Weasleys over across the way, and be like, oh, those guys. Go follow those guys and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I think that would be perfect. Life, you know, it's the perfect amount of neglect / absent-mindedness / care, and I wouldn't be upset if that's something they added to the new one. But that all being said, we're now with the Weasleys. We love the Weasleys. And we get to the train. Love the train. I still love the part where he buys all the candy, and other people are like, well, yeah, fuck all the other kids, I guess. You know what? Yeah, fuck all the other kids, I guess. I don't give a shit. That part is so much fun. I love it that he buys all the candy. I think it's so much fun.
I think it's so dumb. He's like, I'll get the lot. I'm like, what? So you don't need all of that?
It's so much fun. That is, again, I was kind of crapping on it before, but that is such an 11-year-old coded dream to buy all the candy. That is so much fun. However, I would never do that as a kid. I would potentially buy more than quote unquote. Listen, not everything I am can be summed up in Hermione Granger. 85% of it can.
I will stand here and critique Harry Potter like no one's business when he makes dumb choices and buying all the candy on the train full of children who are the only options for friends for the next 5 years.
Just like who? Who else would critique Harry Potter when he does something dumb? Let me check my notes. Oh, that's right. It's Hermione Granger. Anyway,
he does a lot of dumb stuff.
It's true.
So
yeah.
much.
I happen to know for a fact because a little owl told me you have one Harry Potter wand prop in your household. Whose is it? Say it into the mic.
That's not fair. It came with the magical candles.
Say it into the mic. Whose is it?
It's Hermione's.
Yep.
Because it's the prettiest.
Yep. It's true though.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Anyway.
Although I will say,
you have a cat with a name that starts with C.
That's just because she's the Cinderella.
Anyway.
My cat's a rescue. I had to save her off the streets, and she's got pretty blue eyes.
Just like Crookshanks.
So she's Cinderella.
Anyway, you were saying we don't want to buy all the candy. Fine.
I was saying we don't want to buy all the candy because these are the only kids we have as friends. And like, granted, maybe he could just like give the candy to them and make friends that way, but that's not really what the plan is. The plan is let's impress Ron and buy all the candy. I
don't interpret it that way.
Ron is impressed, but
I don't interpret it as impressed.
But
I interpret it as sympathy. Like he's got shitty snacks.
So you know why it happens in the book? You know why it happens in the book?
I thought it was because of his shitty snacks.
He buys it so, if I remember correctly, and this is so embarrassing if I got it wrong, but as I remember it, he buys it so Draco doesn't get what he wants.
I don't recall that at all.
No?
That's not what I remember. It's been a long time since I read it too. I remember that it's Ron presents his food, and it's like something gross or just bland, and Harry decides, let's just get it all. Like, because I can. Like, I feel like it's almost the same thing. That's such a terrible
motivation.
I think it's funny. It's such an 11-year-old thing to do. I don't remember it being that he doesn't make sure that Draco can't. Not that I would necessarily put that past him. I don't remember that though.
Okay, so it looks like I was wrong, at least according to the quick search on the internet. But that just tells me that I'm sitting here trying real hard to rationalize all the dumb things that happen in this series, and I'm making things up so it makes more sense.
You're gonna have to strap in for that, because you're gonna be doing that a lot. We gotta speed things along just a tad, because we're already 40 minutes in, and we just had fun talking about the intro. So yeah, we get to the Hogwarts, and the Hogwarts is great, magical, amazing. John Williams again making the atmosphere. I have one little nitpicky kind of miniature critique. The intro for McGonagall in Hogwarts is so vampire-esque in my mind. It was strange. Like when I watched it the first time, we're already introduced to her, which is great, because if we weren't, I would interpret that as like, this is a villain. Like her hand on the railing, and the violin strings, and she's just standing there in the green with the pointy shoulders and the hat. I'm like, ooh, spooky.
The green is a choice for her, especially since she's like head of Gryffindor. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah, and like not everyone wears the house colors, but I've always thought it was a strange choice to put McGonagall in green. But whatever, works.
I would have picked like a dark purple pink kind of shade that almost,
I think purple would be perfect. McGonagall purple. But yeah, then we can do our sorting ceremony, which fun. I'm a Hufflepuff, if you couldn't tell. Max a Ravenclaw.
Yeah, who would have thunk?
But yeah, that's all good and fun. I do think it's kind of funny. We have a introduction later where we meet Oliver Wood, and McGonagall's like, Harry, this is Oliver Wood. Oliver Wood is the second guy that Harry shakes hands with when he sits down at the table. So that's just funny. That's just fun, silly things.
That is funny.
We meet the ghosts. Super fun, super whimsical, super magical. Go on.
I do feel like that flying scene, the only thing I have an issue with is a character choice for Harry to chase Malfoy. I feel like everything else in that scene is set up really well. I take personal issue with the fact that the best strategy in that situation is not to chase a kid on a broom, because you've literally never flown before, and like, this bauble doesn't seem super important. I mean,
it's important to Neville.
Well, yeah, but like, it's something that someone can recognize on sight. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess it's something you could replace decently,
it's from
easily.
His grandmother.
Okay, well, sentimental value in an object, right?
And disrespect.
It should be
Harry
returned.
doesn't stand for
hell
that.
yeah. Mm-hmm. Except, like, it's going to be way more effective, or at least you had a better chance of getting what you wanted. Rather than chasing the kid, just, like, letting him float in the air and not get any attention and just tell the teacher when the teacher comes back.
I mean, yeah, but that's a Hermione thing, is to snitch.
And then it's Harry's thing to catch the snitch. That's how the whole thing.
Well played. Well played. Oh, I didn't even mean that. That was good.
But like the actual, like, the way it plays out and the way that Harry catches a small, hard to see flying object through the air and McGonagall happens to catch it. He also makes, like, a quick bank turn right in front of her window. Like, he is a flying natural. So it makes perfect sense that she would force put him on the team.
See, I feel like the whole sequence is convoluted for multiple reasons because, for one, we learn later, and I think it's fair and unfair to compare this movie to other movies. There's a pretty simple spell to prevent people from falling, and I think if anyone in the school knew it, it would be the flying coach. So Neville shouldn't have broken anything. Malfoy being a little tool, sure. Malfoy knowing how to fly, yeah. People talk about how he's probably learned, even though he shouldn't at home. Mm-hmm. Harry knowing how to fly, sure, no. But it's just one talent. But the thing is, him catching it just outside McGonagall's window and then becoming the Seeker, he caught it, which is great. So join the softball team. It's the exact opposite of what you do with the Golden Snitch. The Golden Snitch does not fly to you. You cannot catch the Golden Snitch in such a way. You have to chase after it. And Harry catches it like it's a baseball. So, like, it shows some flying prowess, but not, oh, I've seen you do this once. You're the Seeker. You got it. Like,
fair. The way I remember them emphasizing it in the books is that the hardest part of being, like, the Seeker is actually visually spotting the snitch. Okay. And I feel like the invisibility and the size of the object that Harry was chasing would be the skill set that she noticed, rather than, like, how he caught it precisely.
That's fair. I'll give you that.
Which is really ironic when we consider the fact the kid wears glasses and he's, like, our primary kid who wears glasses through the series. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a whole other world thing we can talk about. So yeah, then we meet Oliver Wood, and Quirrell is talking about a potion, it seems, where a whole ass iguana is an ingredient, which is insane.
That's crazy. That's like a raccoon being an ingredient.
Yeah. So let's see here. We gotta talk about some other things. God, see, it goes by so fast. There's so much to talk about with Harry Potter. Let's see. The kids are cool. I don't like Snape. I was gonna say we gotta talk about Snape. Yeah, Snape. I think that's another. I would say, for one, that's maybe a weakness of the movie if you want to look at it as a movie. A lot of things are super convenient with Snape. A lot of things are a little twisty with Snape. It's funny that he walks into the potions class and he's like, there will be no foolish wand waving or silly incantations in this class. So hardcore, very much. We are building this world because, dude, it's already been said that you've been pining after a different class, and that class is nothing but silly incantations and foolish wand waving. So, okay, snob. But yeah, what are your issues with Snape?
So I guess I should start by saying that I do find it frustrating that our characters leap to the conclusion that he's the one who's trying to steal the stone. I do understand their dislike of him for reasons I'll get into in a second here. But when I read that chapter in the book, my first thought was, I missed something. As a reader, I missed something that would have confirmed for me that Snape is the one who is stealing, or at least he is likely to be the one who is stealing the stone. But no, I hadn't skipped anything. The kids just leapt to that conclusion. And, like, hey, they are 11, 12-year-old kids. Like, that's maybe just something that kids do. I didn't, but I was also, like, a crazy reader. So I was very used to the idea of, like, I mean, my primary book series that I read growing up was Nancy Drew. I knew not to jump to conclusions because the first guy you think it's going to be is often not, especially in books. So anyway, that assumption aside, Snape is genuinely horrible to have as a teacher at Hogwarts. Harry Potter is sitting here taking notes on what he's saying.
I know. It's always bothered me.
He scolds him for taking notes, makes a whole scene trying to embarrass him, and then yells at everyone else at the end of that for not taking notes.
Yeah. Hypocritical ass.
And, like, you can tell, great acting on Rickman's part, by the way, but you can tell that he has an issue with Harry Potter specifically before they even really meet. And if you have a grudge with a kid and you're trying to teach that kid, you can't. I mean, you can have complex relationships with the people you might have to teach, right? But to me, there's very, very little that's quote unquote redeemable about Snape's character. And this is obviously going to get more complex as we get into the character. It's not necessarily that I consider him evil. Yeah. It's just that he is a genuinely bad person to be teaching children, and I don't know that we have a good enough reason to keep him at the school in Hogwarts teaching all the kids. It's another in-world thing that just bothers me. He's there because we need him to be there, and that's the only reason he's there.
It'll be an interesting thing to discuss as we go through the whole franchise, because it would be interesting to see what he's actually like during class, and we never really do get to see it. We see it sometimes in the book, quote-unquote see it, but rarely. But
every now and then in the book, I do feel like he does his job, right? Yeah. He is actually really good at potions, but his attitude is a real issue, man.
It's one of those things where I would be intrigued to see what he's like with a student he does like, and I don't mean like the Slytherins because he's biased towards that house. But it's like, what if you have a student who is just superb at potions? Like, how do you act? Is it different? Are you like quietly proud? Because it's weird to think with Snape, because like when Harry is getting suspicious of him already at the first feast, and he asks Percy, "Who is that talking to Professor Quirrell?" And it makes me like stop and be like, that's such a normal thing to say. It's a normal thing to see. But then I'm like, it's Snape. What are you talking about? Like, you're having a conversation with somebody. I can't even imagine you having a conversation with somebody. And then it makes me wonder as well, like, skipping all the way to the last movie, or second to last movie, when Voldemort kills the teacher, the professor of Muggle studies, and she says, Severus, please, we're friends. And I'm like, how the hell does this lady consider you a friend? You guys hang out in the break room? Like, do you have conversations with people? Because it's just a joke in the books that a lot of people think Snape is a vampire because of the way he is, and vampires do exist in this world. And so it's like, what do you like when the students are away? And it's just like you're having teacher meetings. Like, do you talk? Because every interaction we have with Snape in the movie is always like mission critical. He's talking with one of the bad guys, he's being one of the bad guys, or he is confronting our heroes and he's an obstacle. We never get to see him in a casual situation that I can recall off the top of my head, except when he and Quirrell are talking. And it just makes me wonder, what are you talking about? Grades? New cauldrons? Like, what? It's just so bizarre to me.
Actually, that's a great point. Maybe if I ever reread the books, I'll try to pay attention to that. Obviously, these books are told from the perspective of the kids, and I feel like that is a strength, right? This is Harry's world. We're seeing it through his eyes, in the same way that I think Katniss's POV for The Hunger Games is a really good writing choice, right? We get sort of a biased perspective of things because of the person we're seeing the world through. I feel like, especially in movies, that scope opens up a little bit, right? And it would have been good to see Snape as not necessarily a good person, not necessarily a kind person, but like a competent person who like just had issues, particularly with our main character, which did come out in like an unhealthy, problematic grudge with a kid, but you could still like after he like unnecessarily glares at Potter for a second, he gets back to his lesson and you can tell that he is like he's teaching functionally, right? The only times we see him really interact with the students is when he is being overly judgmental of our heroes. And that is such a weird way to introduce a complex character because there's nothing actually complex about that. He's just being a bully.
He is, but it is interesting to look at this with like the full picture. Because like when he's surprised that Harry is there, I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But like, you being you, knowing you being you, I don't think you should be surprised. So that's interesting. And then when you wish Harry good luck, you know, are you bullying him or are you actually wishing him good luck? Because again, knowing you, being you, I don't know which one is more likely. Because especially after he already clocked your bitten leg, why would you want to go near the kid? You know what I mean? Like, that's interesting. Also, I did not realize this until this viewing. And if I did realize this, I completely forgot about it. Again, having the full picture of who Snape is and the part he plays and how, like, the achievement of Snape in the end, at the end of the day, is how well he tricked Voldemort. It's kind of ignored that at the end of the day in this movie, the guy that did the most to keep Voldemort from achieving his goal in this movie was Snape. And Voldemort seems to have forgotten about that completely. Because Snape is the one who is suspicious of Quirrell, goes to stop Quirrell, threatens him in the hall, and like, you think Voldemort's just sleeping during all that? You don't think he's listening to Snape actively? And you'd think, again, because it's clear Rowling didn't know what all was gonna happen and she didn't
how it was gonna shake out, yeah.
So, but you'd think in a world where this made sense, Voldemort would get his hands on this squirrely little twerp and be like, hey, actually, I've got a dude here at the school. You should go get him and take off the hat and let us talk because this guy's going to be on my side. So, like, this is great. But no, Voldemort decided not to talk to one of his higher-ups from the first time he rose to power. He's witnessing this dude actively trying to prevent him from achieving his goals.
It's possible you could kind of, like, you know, headcanon, fanon patch that maybe Voldemort just doesn't remember a lot from the Quirrell days. Like, we don't really get him reminiscing on that all that often. He does mention he remembers, like, how awful it was to share a body with someone. But that's, like, a vague emotional impression. And he, like, at the end of this movie, there's a total disembodying that happens. He's still alive because the whole Horcrux thing, but at the end of the day, like, there's probably some significant trauma and maybe mental loss that happens when you become a spirit. We don't really spend a lot of time talking about that.
True, and I wish we did. But my headcanon patch is Snape. If Voldemort does bring it up, Snape's excuse is he doesn't know that it's Voldemort trying to get the stone. He thinks it's Quirrell after it for himself, which is probably what Snape does think in this movie itself.
That's true.
But then if I were Snape, I would be like, okay, well, why didn't you say something then, dude? Like, if it were you, why, you know, I don't know what Voldemort's
I'd assume my cover is blown, at least on some level.
So yeah, I do think it's interesting that Snape is the biggest obstacle in many ways in the end. Kind of funny. We are technically out of time, but I do think we need to talk about one other big thing, unless you've got something else.
Okay, real quick.
Yes.
I do have to say, I love the invisibility cloak and the way that they use it. Like, the effect of it in the movie. It's, like, easily the best thing they do. And it's not like they do a lot of wrong. It's just, like, the cloak really is good. The best effect
I was going to ask you, do you think it's responsible for Dumbledore to give that to an 11-year-old, or would you wait, like, ignore where the story is going? Ignore that he needs it. Ignore that it's a Deathly Hallows, which I don't know if Dumbledore knows that or not at the time. If you were given an invisibility cloak by James Potter, and then he dies, and then the son is here at the school, would you give that child an invisibility cloak as an 11-year-old, or would you wait and give that to him as a graduation present? Because I don't know what I would do right away, because that's a pretty intense thing to give him.
Oh, I'm thinking this through. Honestly, if I had to be like, if you're forcing me to give it to him when he's like, give him the invisibility cloak either at 12 or at 16, I'm picking 12.
Really?
Because I will learn, because I will learn how a 12-year-old uses the cloak. I don't know that I would catch a 16-year-old who suddenly understands how to use an invisibility cloak. I could potentially build like rules, expectations, and general understanding about how the cloak is used when the kid is young versus when he's older. But if you're asking me, wouldn't I rather just save the cloak until the kid is no longer my problem? Yeah. That's the one I'm going to pick. Except knowing the context
of the story.
Dumbledore knows, Dumbledore knows that Harry is going to need it eventually, or at the very least, it is a tool in his toolbox in case Voldemort does come back, which Dumbledore is expecting something like that at this point. He's suspicious. He's on his guard.
Yeah.
I think I would make the same choice. Maybe I'd hold off on a year, get to know the kid first, and then I'd give it to him like his second year. But I do not think it would take me very long to be like, hey, this was your dad's, you might need it.
My only headcanon thing, again, and I don't know if this is good or bad, is that Dumbledore is lightly keeping tabs on what they're doing. And so he does give it to them when he needs it. Because otherwise it's very convenient. You know? It's also, I'm sure someone else has pointed this out. I didn't really think about it until, again, this viewing. Harry he's probably one of the worst chosen one stories because of how competent Hermione is and how he just isn't. So much of this movie is him getting gifts, which again is fun for an 11-year-old. And he's also new to this world, and I get that. But like, we have several big sequences of like gifts. The cloak, the Nimbus 2000, Hedwig, technically the stone, I would say, in like the very end. Like, it's a lot of Harry just being given stuff. And I feel like if you wanted to have that, the broom was perfect. You know? Not that, again, I agree with you, though. I love the cloak. I love how they use it. It's very fun. But, like, if I had to pick, because of what's going on in the rest of this movie, I would pick the broom over the cloak.
Fair. I think that's fair. I think the invisibility cloak comes in really handy very often,
of course.
But you could have functionally done something very similar with, like, let's say there's a basic level spell that he's not really supposed to know that makes you look mostly invisible. And in a dark corridor, you can still do a lot of the things that happen with the invisibility cloak.
Right.
But if we wanted to save that as a gift until like their second or third year, kind of like up the stakes with it, that kind of makes sense, especially since like we got an owl, we're given a wand, we're given robes, we're given a special broom. Like it does start to feel very kind of repetitive. And it also feels, how do I express this? Entitled feels like the wrong word because the poor kid is an orphan and he's just getting back to his world.
Yeah, there's that.
But there's kind of an element of like, you're just the specialist little boy in all of it. And that bothers me a little bit because I guess in my stories, I prefer my chosen one to like be burdened with responsibility. And like, he's 11 years old. That feels a little early to start that. But you know, foreshadowing about how much is going to be expected of you might be kind of good.
Sure. And I'm getting super nitpicky at this point as well, because as I've said, I love the invisibility cloak. Oh my god, I love it. It's the invisibility cloak. However, I do think it kind of takes away from the different kind of magic that is Harry seeing that someone else made him Christmas presents. And like, I think we lose out on that moment just a tad. Because
we do get the sweater, but we don't really see the revelation that someone made him something as well as their kids. And like, I think that's a whole thing.
We get that a little bit more in the book, I think. And we do see him wear the sweater in the deleted scene, which is the version on Peacock, which we both watched. But I feel like it's a tad... You imagine you're Molly Weasley, right? And you're like, you got magic that's helping and whatnot. But you know Harry doesn't have anything, so you make him a sweater. And that's wonderful. You're a lovely lady. And this bearded 140-year-old motherfucker gives this child an invisibility cloak. Well, who gives a shit about the sweater? Like,
Harry did.
I
Harry
know.
loved the sweater.
I know. I feel like, because the other thing is, we need to see Snape and Quirrell. Fine. I feel like there's other ways maybe you could do that. We don't learn anything from the restricted section of the library in this movie. It doesn't come into it at all. So, minus the fun that we get from the invisibility cloak, it doesn't serve a whole lot of functions that could not be achieved otherwise. We're going over time, but it's fine. I've always thought it was a little dramatic when Filch breaks up the kerfuffle, shall we say, between Snape and Quirrell, and he's like, it means there's a student out of bed, and they both run off like as fast as they can. Is it really that big a deal, guys? They're children. Why are you running like it's the end of the...
No,
like,
that's a...
You'd think one of them would
it's a
roll
good
their
enough reason
eyes.
to break up the fight, but
Yeah.
like the racing off to find the student, like,
Yeah.
you don't know where to look.
Right. And the music
Is there like
spikes.
a magic enchanted chart somewhere that tells you who's out of bed? That
Uh-huh.
should be a thing. That should absolutely be a
It
thing.
should be a
But
thing.
anyway, like...
But it's just the way the music spikes and the way they run off. It's like, guys, this isn't a prison. They didn't escape. They're just wandering around. Who cares? Also, big jump, I must say, Mr. Filch. You found a broken lantern, so that means there's a student out of bed. There are multiple people who live in this castle. You also, this is a movie. This is a movie critique. This is a movie franchise critique. No Peeves the Poltergeist. Massive oversight.
What a choice. Yeah.
Massive disappointment. Huge loss. Don't appreciate that. I will stand on that hill.
Peeves is so irritating, but he's so enriching
He's
to
kind
like
of
what
important.
Hogwarts is, in
Yeah.
the sense that, like, well, not only does he have like a role to play in the same way that the I don't know, Weeping Molly or whatever does, and
Moaning Myrtle. The Weeping Molly. Oh my god.
That's good. I don't remember her name. Anyway.
Oh my goodness.
I like that the ghosts play active parts in the story that we have. It's irritating, though, that you would take away the only one that's actively an issue.
Yeah.
Like, I think, to me, Hogwarts is not necessarily supposed to feel like a magic genie just sort of sitting in the background hoping to, like, make all your wishes come true. Hogwarts is an environment
Yes.
that you can love.
Yes.
But it should be, it's dangerous. They keep putting dangerous stuff in the school. There's that whole bit where they're like, the third floor is strictly off limits because you will die. And all the kids are like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's Hogwarts. So to remove the ghost that actively causes issues for students, both the ones who are acting like who are fine and those who are like running late to class, what a weird choice. I guess it works if you want to try and like make Hogwarts more friendly, but that's not, I don't know. I like complexity. I like richness of worlds. I think it's a loss. Do you think it's a loss?
I do. I think it's wild how we go over like 4 or 5 directors and not a single one of them chose to include Peeves. The guy who directs the third one includes Sir Cadogan, the weird goofy knight who's a portrait. That's not necessary in any way, shape, or form. But we included it. Like, what the hell? Peeves. So anyway, we are over time, but we do have to discuss the end trials, the last little thing we do. It is so child chosen one movie climactic something or other, because when you take a step back and think about, hey, there's this thing that one of the most important wizards kind of in history once protected, and we're some of the most like high level wizards right now, and we're going to go ahead and protect it. So we're going to make 4, technically 5, we skipped one in the movie, 5 like tests to get to it. That's dumb. Like, what
No,
are
it really
you
kind of is.
doing?
I
Dude.
would take like a basic obstacle course over some of the stuff that they created
I
here,
know.
because
I love
talking about, like, let's do specifically the key room, because let's say you're good enough, like, if you know the trick about Fluffy and you know the trick with the vines and you are good enough at wizard chess that you can checkmate the white team or not white pieces by just like getting there. You don't have to sacrifice anything. You just can, right? Then you get to the key room. In the key room, you literally cannot get through the key room without getting cut up by a bunch of keys. That's just not practical or feasible. Where's the back door? How are we like protecting this, I guess?
Yeah.
Also, can we imagine Quirrell going through all of these?
I know.
With
You can see him
Voldemort just
on the
narrating
broom.
in the background.
Yeah.
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 All right.
Yeah. Also,
Whatever.
I know what it's supposed to illustrate in the movie. It's supposed to illustrate that Harry is skilled, that Hermione is smart, and that Ron is strategically minded. But I love the headcanon of as soon as that school year ended, the four heads of house come together and realize how ill-equipped they are to deal with 11-year-olds because they made it through some of their strongest, most clever, super, super well-made tests and barely, like, they're barely scathed, you know? Like, because Hermione's thing with Devil's Snare, honestly, I feel like in that world, that's not that hard to
That
think of.
should be common knowledge.
Yeah, you think.
Like in
Like,
the same
it's
way
not a-
that
that's not a
people
riddle.
generally know that poison ivy should be
Right.
avoided.
Yeah, or like
you just know not to squirm when
Yeah.
Devil's Snare has you.
Sure, or this that or the sun spell. Like either one, I feel is pretty standard. That's not a riddle. That's just
Another personalized spell, by the way.
No, that's a real spell.
It's not just but it's not just light. It's light of the
Sunlight.
sun.
Yeah, but like that's
Yeah.
that's a spell itself. Hermione didn't make that up. Anyway,
It's just Latin. It's just Latin.
That's the spells in Harry Potter. Yes, it's just
I
Latin.
can make my own spells.
Yes, you can.
If
That
that's
is
the
a function.
Case. It doesn't have to be
Yes.
specific.
No, that's a function of this world. You can make your own spells. It's just dangerous because you
Good.
gotta test them. Anyway, so yeah, the Devil's Snare is weird. The helpful, the fluffy one is honestly kind of dumb because for anyone who isn't 11, that's, you know, if you're like an educated wizard, yeah, it's a Cerberus. It's part of the legend. That's part of the music doth soothe the savage beast.
It is. Yeah, it is.
That's not
part of
that,
Cerberus's
that's
legend.
not a huge thing. Like this is a book for 11-year-olds. And then, you know, the keys, Flitwick's task, that one sucks shit. Like, I mean, that one is troublesome because it doesn't matter how smart you are. You know, like that's you have to be physically to get the Sorcerer's Stone. You have to know history and herbology and be an athlete and know strategy. And technically, there is a potions one that they cut because that's what Snape made. Like, it's a lot. When at the end of the day, all you had to do was put a blanket over the mirror and put the mirror in Dumbledore's office because you know Dumbledore's office is safe and you know no one is going to figure out how to get the stone with what he did to that mirror. You didn't have to do... You did something to the stone where it doesn't exist unless someone goes into the mirror and looks at it and wants it but doesn't want to use it. That is enough. You did enough. What are you doing? Dude.
My only thought with your plan is that Dumbledore's office would absolutely be on the top of my list to search if I were looking for something important at Hogwarts.
Fine.
But I totally agree with the rest of the sentiment. Or at the very least, I'm sitting over here with my fantasy brain going, and I'm like, where are the ward spells?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah.
just cast it so like no one can enter the room.
Yeah.
And maybe that's technically kind of vulnerable because it seems like spell casting is so blanket here that everyone might know the counter spell, right? But then let's apply a little bit of like thought to this. We can get more specific with our spells, like figuring out a way to get a bajillion letters into a kid's house. So we can figure out a way to sort of trick a ward around the rooms. And then let's go ahead and say that that's too hard for 11-year-olds to do on their own. Okay, fair. They are following Voldemort and Quirrell. They can leave a trail of gaps. Maybe they like most of the things are kind of back where it was, but like he like left a door open where one of the key clues are, or he, you know, like the bent wing in the key is because Quirrell grabbed it. Like there's lots of little things you could do to help 11-year-olds do something they shouldn't be able to do.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, everything that you gave them in the actual trials was very accomplishable by 12-year-olds. The only one being kind of questionable is the key one, and that's just because it's like some people just don't have athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah. It's wild. It's a little much, honestly. It's fun when you're a little kid and you watch this movie and you see them doing all this cool stuff, and the chess pieces are magnificently designed, but
they are well designed.
Yeah, but it's kind of, it's a little goofy. My last little thing.
Also, I have a blocking issue, a very quick blocking issue. Yeah. Blocking isn't like stage blocking, like where people stand in the scene. Voldemort is staring at Harry through the mirror for their entire like final confrontation scene. You shouldn't be able to see clearly through the mirror. At that point, what Voldemort wants more than anything is very in the front of his mind.
Yes. I think he's far enough away. Because, like, you can see things in the mirror. It's the closer you get to it is when it kicks in.
Like a foot away.
I think he's a little further than that. Just a tad. Just a tad. I think.
Okay.
I think.
It's fine. It wasn't a huge issue. I was just sitting there and I was like, by the rules of the world that we have already established, Voldemort should be seeing Harry surrender and give the stone. And that's not happening.
Yeah.
So it's bothering me.
I get that. I think he's far enough away that aspect of the Mirror of Erised doesn't kick in. Because the other thing about the mirror as well, though, is it's not doing what it's supposed to do anymore. Like, Quirrell sees... Yeah, Quirrell sees what he desires, but Harry doesn't see his parents at all. They only kick in when Voldemort talks about it, which might be that Voldemort's affecting it because of how powerful he is. So I don't know. The magic can get a little weird. My last thing is, the only thing I think has not aged as super well in some ways is the CGI. Not its fault. 2001. I am... The only thing I could think that I would be excited to see in the new one, which as of recording has not come out yet, is a modern day Quidditch sequence. Because we have Quidditch in this one. We have a little bit of Quidditch in the next one, but most of that is running away from a bludger. We have a little bit of Quidditch in the third one, but most of that is running away from a Dementor. We have a cool flight sequence in the fourth one. A short flight sequence in the fifth one. A Quidditch tryout in the sixth one. And then some broom mumbo jumbo in the seventh. So like we do see flying around with good special effects, but we never get to see a Quidditch game with like modern day special effects. So I am actually intrigued, cautiously optimistic about the new one's Quidditch sequence. I think that could be really dope.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what I want out of the new one. Largely because most of the time, if someone's attempting to readapt something, I'm sitting over here like, make it better than make it more close to the books, right? And I do think there are a couple of things, especially in the later books, that I would like to see a little bit truer to the books.
For sure.
Particularly the way that they write some of the supporting characters. I just feel like in general, I feel like Ron is portrayed. The actor does a great job.
Yeah.
For the most part. I actually think that Ron's actor pulls some of the most complex faces and reactions in this film out of the three of them. But there are things that Ron does that are so helpful to the story that in the movies they just straight up give to Hermione. For no reason other than we want Hermione to be the useful one. And it's weird. It really throws the balance of their characters off. Like, there's supposed to be a reason for all three of them in the group, and the movies are like, no, he's just comic relief some of the time. And I'm like, dude.
Yeah, we could adjust that. That'd be good. Yeah.
But that doesn't really show up in this movie, I don't feel like. This movie, Ron is a solid character.
Yeah. But I would say, for whimsy, for music, and for, as you said, the atmosphere, 'tis a whale. I find fun in this. I find some timelessness in this. It's a good watch.
It's a solid movie. I do think it starts a little slow, and I do have little irritations that pop up here and there about logical inconsistencies.
Yep.
But for the most part, I do enjoy watching it. I think there are several beautiful shots in the film.
Gorgeous.
Like the sets are great. The music is wonderful. The world is interesting. I have issue with the way that the story disseminates information.
Mm-hmm.
Like the centaur just like info dumps a lot of information.
Hardcore.
And like I feel like Harry's learning about his past is oddly segmented. Like if I found out someone knew my parents as an orphan, I'd be like, you are sitting down and telling me about them right now.
Yep.
That just doesn't really happen. He just kind of like learns through like a little drip tube.
Yep.
Anyway, but the movie's overall effect is quite positive and whimsical and hopeful and joyful. I'll give it a whale.
Nice. We have a whale. All right, that's where we're at. We're already over time. So thanks. Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys.